this meeting of the Community Housing Board to order. Hello. So the first thing that we're going to do is let's review the past minutes. And then I also am just going to say that I forgot to add something to the agenda. And we have our town social worker here. And so I'm going to actually been so kind to join us. So we're going to add that in. Okay. And it is my tax-addled brain. So I just wanted to say that. Okay.
I'm sure you want to say tax-addled.
Just addled.
Tax.
Just addled.
You're right.
It's specifically tax-addled.
Just tax.
It's taxed. Thank you, sir. That is exactly.
It's a taxed brain, not an addled brain.
All right, so let's take a look.
Jerry with us?
No. I don't mind attending that just this time.
Okay.
He might be on shortly.
No, if I haven't. Does anybody have?
Nothing struck
Any
me
notes?
as, like out of order.
I move to approve them.
Oh,
as
I would
written.
like to second. All in favor?
I'm
Oh. Another rousing round of minutes. All right, so, Amber, if you're okay, before we get to our, town liaison updates, I wanted to invite Alexandra. Just, I didn't know if you wanted to like talk with us or give us something.
I'm here to introduce myself, I guess, to everyone. I'm here to help. I've read half of the community housing plan.
Come on up to the podium. Come up to the podium and say hi and hello.
I've only read half of the community housing plan, but I see that there's a registry and a lot of
Yes.
people.
This was moved out of the way, so I'm gonna have to just move you up a little bit, so people can see you. I'm sorry.
I'm not dressed to be seen, but I would like to help register some of my clients on that registry.
That would be awesome.
And just love to work with you, because a lot of my clients are in unstable housing or looking for housing, so.
Well, we
Great.
would love to help. So we have a form that's available here. I think that you can do on paper, and then there's also a link online.
Okay.
And really, obviously, we're looking to develop housing, but part of the registry is just to really kind of figure out like the depth of the need.
Yeah.
So, and like what kinds of things are needed. So, you connecting us with your contacts is just really helpful. So it kind of steers us in the right direction so that we're doing the right things.
Have you gone to the school to ask them? But I'm just wondering, I might advertise this a little bit.
Yeah, go for it. So basically for us,
I was just gonna say, probably better for you than for us.
Okay.
At this stage, right now, we're really trying to develop this, get some ADUs going, accessory dwelling units, which could be a fantastic way for people to have housing. But yeah, I think social worker at school, talking about our rental registry would be fantastic.
Even the library, yeah.
Yeah, wherever.
we definitely have our hands full with a couple projects. So any help in the outreach is just so massively
So wonderful.
appreciated.
And let me know if there's anything.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we would love it.
Okay.
May I just ask, as a social worker, so are you working within the school? Is that correct?
No, the town social worker, so
Okay.
for the entire town, anyone that lives in the town.
So that deals with, people come to you with any kind of
Do short-term
needs.
counseling to finding resources,
Got it, okay.
the whole gamut. I won't turn anyone away. So.
Got it. Okay, that's great. Good to know.
That's super good to know. Coco, we were kind of talking about, we've had a couple of people step forward on the registry that had immediate needs that were probably beyond what we could do. So it's really good to be connected with you. So if we have a situation like that come up, we can, I know like Coco and I have kind of struggled to just make sure that people are connected with the right resources.
send them my way or, introduce them to me so you make sure they follow through.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to help.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, I'm so glad that, it's
Yeah,
really,
good
it's
to meet
really
you,
great
know
to be
you.
connected with you.
How do we reach you?
I have a card for everyone. It's also on the town website.
Okay.
I love cards.
And my phone number finally
Works? Oh, that's exciting.
I can receive text messages.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
That's so modern of you.
You have a 749 number that takes texts?
It forwards it to a different number.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, wow, that's rad.
It's just, Kayla's working on it. It's been a process.
Excellent. Thank you, Alexandra.
All right. So we have Gwen with us tonight. And I wanted to see, since I'm just very mindful that we're kind of hanging out with her very late in her day, is everybody okay if I
Yeah.
switch around this agenda just to let her
please.
go first?
Yes.
Is that cool with everybody?
Yes.
Rad. Okay. So Gwen, I don't know if you're there. I'm just gonna so Gwen reached out. I don't know, time is a flat circle. This week, potentially, maybe the end of last week, she'll remember. We got the contract from New York. So we're gonna kind of go into that a little bit more tonight. But the real fun part is that the start date was March 20th. So they've already started the clock.
Okay.
So our 2-year window started
Yep.
prior to our
Last week.
getting the
Last week.
contract.
Well, they started it and then gave them the contract, was it like the end of last week? So then we've been, because that's how, cool. Yep. So when you
Let's get it done faster than 2 years and it won't matter.
Yes.
exactly. So I wanted to kind of just talk about a couple of Gwen's going to kind of bring us through the contract when she comes up.
It's gonna be a few minutes.
No worries.
Okay.
No, I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. So when we got that, I realized, so we had kind of talked about doing a public information session. So I reached out to the library. And we do have a time on April 22nd
Okay.
at 1 PM.
What day of the week is
That
that?
is a Saturday.
Fabulous.
I'm sorry, April 22nd?
April 22nd at 1 PM, where basically Gwen and some of the folks from CDCLI are going to come out. And basically what we thought we would do is just do a public information session to just kind of do a presentation, kind of talk through it, answer specific questions about it. But just to try to get some folks lined up. Additionally, naturally, they would like to have at least 1/4 of the folks applied, not through it, but applied by September.
Okay.
Which is that feels, but I would, of course, we would love to have more, but it does mean we should start.
Well, it's great now. We've got more people who can, we've got more people that will be coming.
Yeah,
To us.
exactly. I was like, out of all the people, if we can find 4, and we do
Yes.
have a list,
Yeah.
so I'll be reaching out to those folks as well.
Cool.
One of the things that did come up this week is that Gwen brought up that we do need to, because CDCLI would pay the people doing the work directly,
Okay.
we basically need to make sure that we're talking to contractors and like folks who can do the work. Now, of course, it would be the homeowner's choice,
Sure.
but it is a slightly different process than like I, the homeowner, am doing something and I pay you the bill,
Got it.
right? So one of the things that kind of came up was, connecting, making sure that not only are we connecting to the public, right, who might be interested in building one of these units or getting one of these grants, but that we're also reaching out to the building community.
Okay.
You know, and so I had a great talk with Reed Karen over at the building department. We tried to figure out, like, do I have to foil all the builders? And then so I foiled them, but then they told me that that actually won't work because they can't get me the list because there's 400 people. And then, so anyway, I've done like round and
Rounds?
yeah, I've done a couple rounds.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
we're going to builders and say, hey, either we can put you in touch with people who want to pay you something, or you could, as long as it meets its parameters, go solicit people to see if they wanted this built.
I mean, technically,
Right? That can't be the hardest thing in the world, because we're
you would-
helping people make money.
exactly. No, and that was my thought. But then what Reed brought up, and then I got to have a conversation with our town council, was that we had to notify everyone equally, which was like, I couldn't just notify some people. And I was like, oh, well, of course that makes sense. So then I had to figure out how do I get all the names to notify everyone?
Do you have to notify the reporter?
In the reporter. Put it
Well, that was yeah. So
on the line.
Amber let me know a few days ago, so we didn't have a budget to do it, but the Community Housing Board has a budget.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, guys, we should write an ad. So
I think that's great.
I think we should do an ad, and this was an idea.
And get it into
That
next week's
was-
reporter.
Yeah, no big deal.
Or
That's no big, actually, we got plenty of time.
yeah.
So here was my thought that was just honestly baked up this afternoon in
Okay.
between tax review calls, was if Gwen is amenable to it, I wonder if we could do, and I can get Terry to give us the room at the library, I wonder if we could do a homeowners session, like
And a
at
builder
1,
session?
and a builder session
Like,
at like 3 or something like
I
that.
think that would be great.
What do you guys, does that seem,
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got him, you feel like you have a thought.
I just think that if I'm a home builder and someone gives me free money to go put up a building on someone's house, as long as they meet this criteria, I'd be knocking on every door.
Right.
And I think that unless we make it easy for the homeowner, it's going to be difficult.
Right.
And it seems to me that the home builders already understand the zoning and that process. So they're already aware of it. And my guess is they know these sections and these places. And so having advocates out there for us, knocking on doors, seems like the best way to get this done quickly.
I think you're absolutely right.
But homeowners still have to apply.
Yeah,
Who applies for the grant? The homeowner.
homeowner.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me that it's gonna be a similar grant payment reimbursement process as the septic grants.
Mhm.
So the homeowner is the actual applicant, the homeowner hires the contractor.
Yeah.
The contractor then bills.
You guys stop, listen to Gwen. She has to chime in.
Oh,
You're
Ben's
here.
You're
Sorry.
here.
I'm sorry, yes, you did, sorry, I
no,
apologize.
you're good.
But, my daughter is, she's not really looking forward to going to bed tonight, so I had to be on mute a little longer than I had planned.
Totally understand. I super appreciate you joining us this
I
late.
couldn't see her because of the screen.
Oh.
On what Maria was just saying, Gwen has something to say about that.
Yeah, so first, always, it's wonderful to see you all, and we are really excited about working with you. To Liz's point, we have received a contract from the state that does still have some areas that need further explanation from the state, certain things like restricted covenant drafts and some additional templates that they are going to require for us to use, and we are convening with the state in May. At the beginning of May to get those additional pieces and other questions clarified. But I did just want to take a little bit of a step back to Peter's point about some of the conversation related to construction. And so it's a little bit different. I certainly don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know all of the aspects of the septic program and how it gets reimbursed. But the homeowner will not be paying out of pocket for this, nor will they be paying the contractor back, right? That will all be managed by CDCLI. And so there is, the two key pieces, without getting too far in the weeds, are the income eligibility, which we'll have to screen for and are still finalizing what are the criteria there to sort of check off that the household, the homeowner meets that. And then the second piece is, of course, that the property meets all of the requirements as it pertains to the town zoning code for accessory dwelling units. So those are the two key pieces. And then we'll be working with a list of vetted contractors to either the homeowner can pick, or we would, pick a contractor that's vetted to put together a scope of work, really looking at the 125,000 that is available. And if to meet the code requirements, there are additional resources, and then where those resources would come from if it was necessary to get the project over the finish line. So there are some steps, again, that the state, wants to see in terms of how things are managed to ensure funds are used, and when a project starts, it can get to completion. That's a real big piece, is that interested homeowners who are eligible can get over the finish line in terms of creating that additional accessory dwelling unit.
That's awesome.
Can I ask, when you say that the funds get you to the finish line, if the plan is 232,000 and there's a $125,000 grant, is there sort of a proof of funds for the remaining portion? How do you ensure you're going to get to the finish line, I guess?
Right. I mean, that's a really good point. As I had mentioned on a previous conversation call with many of you, we are going to create a loan fund. CDCLI has a community development financial institution that has very low interest loans available to individuals. However, that doesn't necessarily mean the household is going to be able to pay that difference back, right? So there will be an assessment that will have to be done to really look at the financial viability of getting the development over the finish line. And there will be a committee that will look at the applications that are submitted to make such decisions, because the state is really prioritizing homes that are, already ready, individuals that are really interested to go, individuals that are, meet the income guideline, also prioritizing households that might be looking to rent those units under the affordable sort of definition, which is something that I know this committee has brought up before, prioritizing units that would be for affordable renters.
So I just have a quick question that's similar to what you just brought up, which is, what if a family has $50,000 they would like to be able to spend on this process? They can still qualify for the grant, and can they add the $50,000 of their own money to the $125,000 from the grant? Sure. Right? So if they have their own money, they
certainly could. I will say, and again, this is all, we're waiting to get more specifics back from the state. They want to prioritize households who, without these funds,
would not be able
get
to
the
do
accessory
anything.
dwelling unit over the finish line. So I think there could certainly be a contribution of
Got it.
additional funds, but if someone has 125,000, they'd rather them, use those resources and support someone that doesn't have that access.
Sure, got it, yeah.
So is the expectation, at least from the state's perspective, that the ADU is 125,000 or less in total cost to build?
125 to 200 with the
I don't
bridge.
want to speak for them, and that is something we will dig into further in our May meeting. I think they did some analysis, which is how they came up with the 125,000. We know, obviously, on Long Island, in a particular in a town like Shelter Island, where there are additional construction costs and the like, we're not sure how that's going to pan out. So we look forward to talking to some developers and other contractors that may be able also to give some guidance there, because it would be great, for us to have a better handle on if that is going to get new construction over the finish line. And if it doesn't, then the question is, are there enough perhaps existing accessory dwelling units that maybe are not yet completed or don't meet town code that could get over the finish line with an infusion of some resources?
So would we then bring together a list of contractors, architects, and builders for you to use as your vetted builders, since we know people here on the island? Or
I
do
mean,
you
we would
have,
certainly welcome, we are planning to put together kind of an FAQ for contractors, design experts, because, there are caps, right, on it's not, it's a wonderful opportunity, but it's a tight budget, to
Yeah.
get things done. And so there are insurance requirements on behalf of the state. And so we want to make sure that any interested party is aware of that. But in particular, we certainly welcome design experts, engineers, architects who, from the beginning could work to assess homes and properties, who have an understanding of the process within the town, because ideally we want to move these along as quickly as possible. So having individuals that understand the process and the town's requirements just adds greater value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was one of the things that, like I said, I was talking about with like Reed Karen earlier this
Yeah.
week, of just like, because even though we might individually know builders or whatever, how we really need to do it through the town is just kind of basically put out an advertisement and just be like, hey, come and, find out about this if you're interested. So basically let everybody know, and let the folks that are interested self-select.
got it, yeah.
Yep. Gwen, I wanted to see what your thoughts were about, what would you think about doing, I don't know if you want to spend all Saturday with us, but like, what would you think about having like a public information session and then having one right after for like builders or designers, engineers?
I think it's a great idea. Plus, it allows us the opportunity to have a very, transparent conversation, so we could also get feedback, right? To make sure we have clarifications that those experts, may have as it pertains to certain aspects of the development, and get that clarified from the state.
Yeah, cool. I was thinking if it was the 22nd and you're going to meet with them in May, then you would walk into that meeting hopefully knowing all the
Lots
things.
more information.
Yeah. Okay, rad. So I will set that up and put together, maybe with your help,
Yep.
an ad. So I'm thinking maybe we'll do like maybe 1 and then 3 p.m. or something like that.
Sounds
1
good.
p.m., 3 p.m. I'll double check it, make sure that's cool with Terry at the library. And then Gwen, I wanted to just like release you to go back to your family and your life. Is there anything that you need from, obviously we'll be in touch, but is there anything that you need from us in the meantime to get this, just from us as a board, before the public and before April 22nd?
No, there's not. I appreciate that. I think we have all the information we need about the code. I will check with our team to see if there was anything that they needed clarified, but I think it was pretty straightforward. So I think we're good. We again, just so excited for the opportunity, and look forward to talking further with you all later in the month.
Okay, cool. If anything else comes up, just come find us.
Okay, and vice versa.
Okay, cool. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Cool.
Question for us, which I don't know if this is a legal thing, I don't know how we work this out, but how do we make sure that the ADUs that we are, as the town, part of building and part of getting together, whether it's with CDCLI or whatever, how do we make sure those fall under the category of affordable? Under what, how do we structure that exactly?
Well, we can't technically make them affordable.
Okay.
So that's part of the thing that she's talking about, is
Yeah.
she's talking about working with the state to prioritize building ones that would be affordable,
Okay,
right? So they could technically build an ADU, and you couldn't do it as a short-term summer, but you
Right.
could do it as like a year-round, not afford. That is technically allowed from my understanding.
okay.
So that was one of the things that we had kind of talked about, like, how do we, prioritize that within the grant?
Right.
So the things that we brought up at the last meeting were, is there a way to put some restrictions on it, some covenants on it with any kind of bridge financing? So if the grant, because everything is so kind of, and this is my imperfect understanding.
Sure.
So, because it's not necessarily, is my understanding, going to be strictly guarded from the state, but knowing that 125 might not get us all the way there, if there is bridge financing, could part of the restrictions on getting that extra financing make it affordable?
Got it.
The other piece of it that we had talked about was, it could be, I think it could be in the bridge financing or any kind of additional financing to get you to where you need to go. And alternately, it could be in the zoning, right? So there might be things that are they're only allowable to be built under a community housing special license. And in which case, if that was the only way, then it would have to be affordable by virtue of the.
So I read the state, they had some information on the grant. And I mean, the problem we face is the grant set up so that if I lived in Oneonta, New York, and have trouble affording my house, I can build, and in Oneonta, I can build an ADU for 125 grand. Right. And I can make my house more affordable.
Right.
And so.
Even if you were charging $1,500 a month, let's say.
Exactly. And so the real goal with the legislation is to get you as much income as possible, not to restrict your income. And we're fighting a different fight. And so we're going to have to figure out a clever way because the intention of the grant is to help that person make more money, not limit their income. And so we've got to figure something out.
But, listen, it seems to me, just based on, I'm like the worst math person in the world, but the more that we have available, the easier it will be to have a balance between an individual for whom $2,000 a month will keep them in their house, and somebody who has enough of a cushion or is able to work within our affordable housing overlay idea.
I already know, I know two people, if this had existed, they're retirees, they had their homes paid off. If they had this, and they could have had their social security and $1,600 a month, would have stayed in their home and both sold and moved to Florida. So this is,
So I just think.
I think there's a target.
Yeah,
I agree.
The more that we can build, the better we will have room to do this stuff.
And I also wonder, and
Maybe that's a question.
Did you say that you can restrict it to year-round rental as opposed to short-term?
it can't be short-term.
Yeah, it can't be for
I wouldn't
short-term.
even.
Automatically makes a big difference. Just the fact that if you can't rent it short-term.
Correct.
Automatically puts it into the year-round pool, so that's.
Of which we have virtually nothing.
I just wanted to confirm that, I thought I heard.
No, it wasn't wishful thinking. It really is true.
Please tell me this is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, oh my gosh.
But I think the math problem is 200,000 at 400 a foot is 500 foot dwelling. And the average Marriott hotel room is just about 500 feet, to put it in perspective. So.
Well, there's so many creative, interesting ways in which people are building, tiny homes and ADUs, and I agree with you. But we actually have a minimum in our.
480. That's a big hotel room.
Yeah. I thought they were like.
I was like, we're like 20s. I lived in very small
I thought they were
spaces,
like
but-
300 square feet or something. Anyway, I don't even know what a square
My
foot
shed
is,
I
so I
work in
shouldn't
is
say.
96 square feet, so I
Okay.
know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have kitchens. Right, and we have to add a kitchen, so,
Right. But there's so many exciting, creative ways that this can be done. I've just been, looking at them for so long with such excitement that there's so many creative possibilities.
And I think here's the thing to remember is this is not gonna solve all the things.
Right.
It's just
It's
gonna
just a
solve like
start.
a sliver,
Yeah.
One of the things I was actually wondering, and I don't know, this is like an Amber and May question. Is there a way, and I'm totally spitballing, I don't know if this is a thing. Would there be a way where the town could like prioritize like an IA system with a community housing license to like, basically like we could, you know what I mean? Like somehow tie those together for these?
Well, if it's new construction that's increasing the number of bedrooms on the properties, then they'd have to upgrade to an IA system by code.
Okay.
For which they might qualify for a grant, correct?
It would
State and
state and county, but not town, because the WQI money is restricted. It can't be used to promote growth.
Got it, okay, got it.
If there was a different funding source, like the 0.5% money could be
Okay.
put towards that if it's allotted for housing.
We won't have enough, yeah.
So, I mean, but down the line, that's an option. Otherwise, county and state money.
Okay,
And then-
so no. All right.
Well,
But that could be $20,000.
it would be $20,000.
Right, but what I was thinking was is if the town had money for it, then you could tie it with the community. That's why I was like,
Right.
to do it at the town level. So that, I mean, which is great, and we should absolutely explore that. We'll work with that to explore that, because we obviously want them to make sure that they have IA systems, but I was just thinking as a way to tie it together to do a restriction, but it sounds like that won't be helpful.
When you say we don't have money, but we will have a stream of money starting to come in May, June, perhaps, we can also borrow against that future stream.
Right, but don't we have to put it to a vote to bond against it?
I vote yes.
That's it, you heard it here, it's a yes. Sit through, right, so.
Is there a way we could maybe ask a builder to cost out a project?
Yeah.
And so as a neophyte, understand what's it gonna cost, what are the zoning issues, what are the septic issues, right? So that we as advocates for this have
That information.
that information, so
Yeah.
we're not saying, hey, we're gonna get you in front of somebody, but we could maybe have gone through an example, because if we can all sort of have, and every deal I'm sure is gonna be different, but if we have sort of the standard idea
Kind of,
Yeah.
template.
That's a smart idea.
Chris might be good for that, so keen,
Yeah.
because he's also got great taste and builds nice things.
Yeah, so I'm sure he would, I mean, he's so down, like, I know he probably doesn't have the time to build it, but he's such an advocate for affordable housing. That actually might be a great thing to just ask, because he would have to recuse himself, you know what I mean? Like, he
Yeah.
don't have time to build, so maybe he would be the perfect guy to ask.
But if we had sort of, okay, here's generally what it would look like, here's
Right.
what it costs,
Right.
here's what the process is, here's the zoning things.
Yeah.
You know, he did do, I don't know if you remember, I was like,
That whole
did a whole-
presentation for us.
he did oh my gosh, somewhere in here, he did a whole process. He sent us a process, which I emailed out.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll have to, okay. But basically, and he gave us a price per foot. So I'll look back through my emails and see if I can send that out. But does anybody feel like they would want to, I'll be real, like, I'm not a person until this meeting.
I'm
so
more
I
than
would
happy
not
to
be-
get in touch with Chris.
Would you guys want
What you're
to,
asking?
would you be down to talk to him?
Yeah, I'm happy to, because it's really, I'm thinking for myself and.
Yeah.
And assuming that others would think the same way of, okay, well, great, but what does that mean? What do I actually have to do? And it's sort of a
Yeah.
checklist and sort of a visual.
Go over that for us, yeah.
I'm like, annoyed. Anyway, I'm gonna find the thing that he put together.
January 12th was when he came in to speak with us.
Right, it was after,
Around that area of time.
yeah, he did it, I emailed it out for it to everybody. I'm sorry, I'm totally looking for it. But basically, he did like a whole,
Found it, I'm bored.
oh, thank you. I was like, I know, oh. I
Never saw that.
I emailed it out.
Oh.
This one is with my notes.
Oh,
There's a
okay,
clean
okay.
copy that
Great.
got emailed out, but basically it's,
Will you email it out again, Amber? Thank you.
Yeah, but basically it's like a checklist of like, make sure that the
Everything is-
site's, the deed's clean, do this. This is, like basically he wrote
So great.
a checklist, and then there's like kind of like a budgeting portion where he had like, so this would be a great, maybe this is a place to start and then like reach back out to him. I can kind of,
I think with these ADUs, there's gonna be a lot of variables.
yeah,
Depending
no,
on,
absolutely.
Is it an existing garage someone's
Right.
converting?
Mhm.
Is it new construction? Is it a modular building that
Right.
someone can get for $60,000?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
All those possibilities will be there. And it's just like anything, how much do you want to spend?
Yeah.
Well, I think so many folks, I think that the rehab will be a totally different thing, a modular
Yes.
will be, but I definitely think that there's gonna be a lot of people that will be drawn to like a stick build.
Yeah.
And so maybe that would be,
Right, no, I think,
that's where we would kind of
still-
do a little model.
right, costing it out and saying, a 480 to 600 square foot
Mhm.
new construction tied into the existing septic or DIA system, what does it all cost?
Could I,
If I put an ADU on my property, does my existing septic have to be updated?
yeah, that was my question too, actually. Does it mean then, Meg, that the person has to update their whole house with an IA if they decide to build an ADU?
If you're going over 4 bedrooms,
Oh, well.
Yeah, it depends on what your starting position is. If you're
Oh, I
starting from
see what you're
2 and
saying.
you go to, and you just build a 1-bedroom,
Got it, okay.
cool. If you're starting from 3 and you want to build a 2, now you
Two-bedroom.
gotta up.
Got it, okay.
I mean, I would love to see folks connected with IA grant
Anyway,
resources
yeah.
anyway, just
Right.
because I feel like that's just
What we should all
what we
have.
should
Yeah.
be doing. Especially if there's grants available on the
Mhm,
county
mhm.
side, I think that's just a good idea as a base, but
So just since last month, and now the clock was ticking and everything, just a reminder that Joe Denny came in and is the first person I know of who said, I'd like to do this, and I'd like to apply.
yeah, so I have the
So-
list of all the folks that have stepped forward that are
Great.
interested.
Great,
But
okay,
I wanted to confirm that this was the date that we were doing tonight.
Great.
Before I reached out and
Okay.
said, the 22nd at 1 PM, come on over, learn all about it.
great.
So,
Do you have a round number on that list? Like
5 people,
10?
10.
I would say 10 to 15 at
Cool.
this point.
That's great.
That's
amazing.
terrific.
I think I have 2 more I can add to your list.
Yeah, so basically people have just like either
That's just
like
word of mouth,
texted me or like stop me in the IGA
Yeah.
or whatever and like go home and I try to
Great.
remember who they are and what,
That's
like
great.
how to go find them. I was like, there's gonna be something coming up. It's gonna be on this thing.
Right on.
So my thought would be is actually, I think is really about publicizing this.
I agree.
Maybe putting together, I'm looking at you because
Yep.
I'm hoping that you would make a pretty ad for us.
We could do an ad and do posters the same way they do,
Yeah, I think we
This-
put it in the,
Well, the ad, the RFP sort of ads, right? Don't they have to meet a certain format?
so this is
is
for
for
the, this is just the public.
information.
I understand, but this is the builders.
Yeah,
Then my second question is there any way we can get the recorder just to write something rather than paying for an ad? Or maybe we do both
I think we do both.
and get them to promote it,
Julie?
Julie, just saying,
you know?
just if you're listening,
Not that we don't want to provide revenue too, but.
we promise to buy it.
But I don't know what the requirements are from your end in terms of being able to, whether you have to put an ad in or not. That's something that you'd have to answer from your end.
Well, this is just going to be a public information session. So for the RFPs, it does have to be like a specific
Yeah, that's different.
situation. But this is just like, hey, come and find out the application process.
They will be writing it.
Oh, amazing. That's really helpful. We will also be doing an ad, but it'd be just great to have folks,
Yeah.
to get folks there. We could post it on,
Yeah.
we could do posters and stuff like that. So we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
And
and we
then,
can connect back with Christina to do the town social media.
yeah, exactly. We can blast it out. Maybe we can do, if we get it on posters.
Yeah, I'll put them
Poster?
around.
Right, look at that.
Are seniors, just given the income requirement, are they a target?
Yes, they are like my number one dream
Definitely.
target.
And so is,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, this is a ridiculous thing to say, but there's a
Can you go to
senior,
the podium, we don't,
Yeah.
yeah, we can't hear you, sorry.
there's a senior
must be the podium.
fashion show on the 22nd at 1:30 at the Presbyterian Church.
okay.
So we could do both.
No, but that's a
It's
conflict.
a comp.
No, meaning we could talk, it's a lovely chiffon
Well, I could
with the ability to
Yeah.
have a 2-bedroom ADU.
well, maybe we could do the contractors at 1 and the public at 3.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
What if
Yeah,
we
why
switched
not?
it?
Yeah, that's
That sounds good.
That's good. You can announce it at the fashion show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just
I will do that for you.
That would be
you.
sashaying
great.
down to the library.
Your Sunday best.
Where are
Did
they
you call me
holding
about the
that?
racks? Okay,
I have nothing to do with that.
okay. I was like, somebody
just
called
know
me
that it's
about,
happening.
like,
Coat racks.
yeah.
Because
just
you do
clothing
the-
rack, Because I do the swap.
The
I'm just
swap,
like, I
yeah.
need.
Is someone like Sarah Mundy, who, running the senior center, should we?
I'm gonna reach out, and that's actually one of the things I was thinking is that maybe we should, now that we're agreeing on it, I wanted to agree on a time. Thank you for letting us know about the senior fashion show. So, so I think there's like some publicity, so a post, so we're gonna do a poster, we'll do social media,
We'll do that.
we'll do an ad, and then there's like individual contacts, so the senior center. I bet we could do church, but I don't think we'd be able to get it into the church bulletins. I feel like they do it like a week ahead of time.
Can they do they have little bulletin boards or anything in person?
I mean, we can, but
Nobody pays attention.
it's just,
I don't
Yeah.
go to church, so what
yeah,
can I
it's
say?
like, yeah, I would, the other thing I would think is maybe what we could do is I've had Mrs. Dunning send it out to the families at the school. They can do a blast like on the Friday, send it out to all the parents.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
But there are two things, right? There's, how do you get people to the library for the meeting?
Mhm.
And then if you're not at the library for the meeting, how do you still become aware of how you do this, right?
So go on the website.
So I am saying that, like, so if it's not in the church bulletin, are there people in the church groups who we can talk to and say, I'm just trying to think, how do we get as many people as we can advocating for us out in the world?
I think you're right. So I would think that once we have, so this is just going to be the public information, but I think that they're not going to nail down the actual application process. My gut is until she has that
From after her
after the
meeting.
meeting with the.
Right, because we don't really have anything to specifically say, we don't have exact.
Yeah, well, we should know a little bit more by that time, but then my thought would be is what we could do is we could put in church bulletins, once we have that process, go here, contact this person. We also talked about that they might be hiring somebody part-time on the island to help administer that, so we would be able to connect them with that person, and then we'll, be able to kind of outline the process a little
Great.
bit. So, but my gut is that would probably be like later May. But I think the church bulletins would be a great idea for that. I know that Gwen told me that her staff internally is working right now on the application process and like how they'll do the reviews and stuff like that. So by the time we get to April 22nd, she'll have a lot more information on exactly how that's going to work internally at the CDCLI. They might not be able to take applications, but they'll be able to say, they'll open on this day. These are the things that you will need.
In the response to the state, are we, and I assume the answer is, because I think she's mentioned it before, are we working with the Southamptons and West Hamptons and?
Yeah, so she is actually so CDCLI is also administering Southampton's.
Okay.
So she's negotiating both of those at the same time. And then the Long Island Housing Partnership is doing East Hampton, I believe. And I know that they are in contact. So all those, so CDCLI is doing for 2 communities out here, and I know she's in contact with the folks over at Long Island.
So it's sort of a commonality of
Yeah, they're-
of response.
Yeah, because we're all trying to advocate for the same things. We want to use for affordable housing. We have concerns about the build costs. It's, yeah. All right, we're just jumping around. We're just
Yeah, why
like,
not?
what is an agenda? Like, let's go from 1 to 2. Let's add in a 3, go to a 4,
We
a
did-
5, no, a 6.
We did
Let's do
number
3.
6,
Let's go to 3.
town liaison updates.
I don't think I really have anything, like I got you the budget information, I
That's
think you
awesome.
know more what might be going on with the South Ferry.
All right, yeah.
schools, than I do, I've been a little
Yeah, I'm happy to do an update.
used it.
Yeah, no.
Can I ask can I ask a question that for the town that maybe would be able to be answered? If you've brought it back to the board? I am curious to find out on what basis the maximum square footage of a home at 6,000 square feet was determined. I just wondered why that number was that number.
Yeah, I'm not sure the current town board knows that, but I have been talking with somebody who is looking into it because it used to be a higher number and it was reduced to 6,000. So some research is being done.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I'd love to find out kind of about that. Number 3 is done.
All right, so I have a South Ferry update.
And I didn't even know that there was a South Ferry thing that needed to be updated.
Well,
Here it is.
yeah, we're never
Here
just
it
working
is.
on one thing. We're always working on 10 things,
Okay.
right? So the test hole got dug.
Okay.
Because, and just like as a refresher, we have the South Ferry site. We are considering it for thinking about doing potential rental properties there.
Right, and
Through
what
the-
is the acreage, this is the 4-acre property, right?
4 acres.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're kind of going into this process, we have done environmentals, just to make sure it's not like polluted or
Polluted
something
and stuff.
crazy. It needs like some big cleanup.
Right.
And so the next step is to figure out, is the water okay, right?
Okay.
And so we all went out and dug a test hole. And so we went to just kind of figure out what the water quality is. So that's the next step. And so we did, that step has been done. And then the next step after that is to send, I'm gonna try to say this as good as I can, and then you guys just tell me if I'm wrong, is to talk to Suffolk Water
Okay.
with the results of the test hole to figure out what the appropriate density is environmentally.
Oh,
Right, before
I
we kind of-
understood that.
Okay, great. I was like.
That worked.
Because before we kind of go further into this process, I know we're kind of thinking one thing, but Suffolk Water is going to tell us,
What
Is
they'll
that-
allow.
yeah, like what's allowable, what's appropriate. So before we go any further in our thinking of things, we kind of need to know.
Okay.
It's.
It's Suffolk County Health Department,
Yes.
not the water.
Right.
Yeah, just to get the right count.
Yeah, otherwise people are gonna think we're bringing Suffolk County Water Authority in.
No,
It's Suffolk
we're not.
County Department of Health Services who regulates the setbacks and everything else.
Yeah.
And the test hole also tells you the soil quality in that area. So what type of soil you're dealing with. You know, do you have clay? Do you have sand? Because that determines your septic system. So it
There you
does
go.
that too.
So that is where we're in that information gathering phase of learning what kind of septic system we would potentially need and what like the available and appropriate like density to that site would be. So that is in front of not Suffolk Water as I've written here, but Suffolk Health.
County Health Services.
Thank you for keeping me
Teamwork makes the dream work, okay? Meg, thank you.
Totally right, thank you. So that's where we are, so I know it'll probably, like, real talk, it seems like it'll be a couple months, but at least we're in there, and like,
Good.
we're in the queue, which
Good.
is like where I actually
Never
didn't,
end up.
I didn't realize we weren't there before, so I've
All
just been
right,
like,
so we're
push,
ahead of
push,
the-
push, push,
yeah.
push. Wait,
That's encouraging. Gotta get on that list.
right, but my thought is, it's just like, if we're at least on the list, maybe by the end of the summer, we'll know something, and we can goof
Exactly.
around with these ADUs until then,
Yeah,
and then we'll have
Well,
a new.
Liz, I just want to clarify something. Did
Yes.
they actually do the test hole for the soil?
Yes,
Okay, and
We
did
did
they
that.
dig a test well?
they, oh, I don't want to tell a fib. I believe they did. The way it was explained to me is that they did the test hole, which I think could be,
Is the soil.
is the soil.
Soil.
Yeah,
And it's mostly we're concerned about, since it was an old highway department, if there are any contaminants there.
yeah, I think if there's any contaminants, I
That's
know
what they're
that,
looking for.
that's my understanding. I know that they had done an environmental, but I think this is like the step to go before Suffolk.
So this is, so the environmental has been done, it's been done twice, 2 stages of environmental, and that did test soil contaminants, tested for contaminants. So this test hole goes to Suffolk County Department of Health with the septic design, because it tells you what your leaching capacity is. Like,
Got it.
it tells you if you have to use a pressurized shallow drain field, what your depth to sand is, what kind of leaching is appropriate based on your percolation rate, based on your soil quality. So if it's super clayey, you're gonna have some issues, you're gonna have to bring in more sand. If it's very sandy, then you can work with what you have. So it gives you those parameters
Got it.
for the septic design.
Yeah, so we're in the septic design phase.
It's super fun.
So just asking on the environmental, so the phase 1 got done and the phase 1 recommended a phase 2, which was completed.
Yeah.
And did the phase 2 come back?
It was clean. It
Clean.
wasn't an issue.
Okay.
So,
We're on our way.
yeah, we're just gonna baby step it all the way there.
Is number 4 done?
Oh my God, I think so. Check. We're just blowing through this agenda. How about, you guys want to talk about an ADU pamphlet? I love a pamphlet.
So cute.
we've got an ADU pamphlet.
Please take a
Should
look.
have, yeah, it's been in everyone's emails for a little bit in the town email. If you aren't on that, now you have a physical copy.
Yeah, I have problems getting on it, so this is my first read, I apologize.
Yes, that's what I figured. And I think, we talked about some stuff on email and aligned, and we have QR codes for resources.
We answered the questions that
We've
we,
got the whole checklist here, which was Stephen's, code
stuff.
stuff.
I do think it's really helpful that it's in here, so.
Yeah. The only thing I think we could add to this is we could add the social worker's contact info.
Oh, I think that's good. Hey,
We're
would you,
adding, we have resources on here, that's the building department, the housing board interest form.
can we put you on?
Please.
Oh,
There's a kind of a question, like, how can I rent one, come to us? But I think the other question might be, what if I need more resources?
yeah.
I think we could add that.
Yeah.
And if there are any other, outstanding notes or concerns, I think we should just kind of finish that up in the next week so we can get
Yeah.
these printed and have them at our library meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I know we looked at this a lot, so,
I do have one small note, and that is, do we need, no new accessory units may be constructed in the nearshore overlay district. So what if you already have something on your property and it's in the near shore, could you get it renovated? No.
Nope. Not yet.
What if we
Not
get rid of
yet.
it? What if the near shore overlay district is?
No pressure, guys.
Well, then why does it say paren unless the accessory apartment is pre-existing non-conforming? Right, isn't that your question?
Right, well,
Because in the ADU checklist, it says you can do what you just asked on the back.
I just think it should say the lot should conform with regulations of the zoning district within which it is located and get rid of the thing about the new shore overlay district. That's something that you would find out as soon as you said, this is where I live and this is what I want to have made. This is what I want to do.
And can I just, which one is, well, no new accessory units may be constructed. So the two are fine, right? They conform.
I
Yeah,
think they're both accurate.
They're both accurate.
yeah.
I do think it's, I don't know, I think it's important to point it out, because it's, but,
I agree, because
Okay.
you're,
Then let's do it.
until such a time that it is not true.
At which time we can also update this.
Perfect. Then we're done.
Have Stephen just check it for legal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So what we'll do is, how about, do you want to add,
Yeah, let's do our last notes.
Great, okay.
Like Wednesday, Thursday, I mean, it's the weekend, whatever. Let's do our last notes next week,
okay,
and then we can
Yeah.
finalize it, send it to Stephen for both at the same time.
great. Yeah, maybe we just send it out and,
Yeah.
You know, I just want to say the majority of the current ADUs that are on the island right now
Mhm.
are in the nearshore overlay district.
Right.
Yep.
That's why it's so stupid to even have that thing.
Well,
Even the ones that are getting a text.
can I ask, how do you know that?
He's a real estate
You know
agent.
that?
Yeah. No, I know you always know everything.
is omnipotent
It's
when
a
it comes to
fact.
real estate.
Well, I'm asking, is that a knowledge you learned, or is that because Reed has
No, it's just that if you
a
look
database?
at the nearshore overlay district, most people build larger homes and they want the accessory dwellings for a housekeeper, a nanny,
Right.
home healthcare. They have the size of the property is conducive and they have the means to do it. It's just how it is.
And is that, and if that house was built in the last few years, is that dwelling legal?
You know, to rent it out on a year-round basis, I'm sure it is legal, absolutely, yes, but I don't know how it would be to rent it out.
Can people apply for a variance the same way they do when they decide they want a 15,000 square foot house right near the water?
That's an excellent question.
To what, to build an ADU?
You would apply to the zoning board for a variance to convert your existing structure to and you could, in that, then put the restriction for an affordable year-round
Right.
rental.
Well, that's what I was getting at when I was saying, the worried me about the income restriction is, let's say you have you're Bill Gates and you own a great house here and you want to be helpful. And so you're willing to put up an ADU at your own expense.
Yeah.
And rent it out for $1,600, but you live in the nearshore overlay. Why? I mean, maybe there is a great reason for environmental reasons, not to allow that to happen. But why shouldn't?
There aren't.
Why can't we encourage that? Because it seems like that would be.
Well, I mean, I think ultimately, that is one of the things that has definitely been in conversation is there is language that is specifically restricts it on purpose, you know? And so I think that you would need to have that code changed to do it, because I think that and one of the things that you could do, having looked at that code, is what you could do is you could, in the community housing special license, there's a specific restriction that says you can't do it within the near shore overlay.
Right.
And it has to be an existing building. And so what you could literally do, having looked at the code, is just take those items out. And then what it would do, instead of having to go through this whole laborious zoning process and doing like a zoning board of appeals and that whole thing, you could just, as of right, or just through a much easier process, which would be the community housing special license, would just be able to
Get a waiver as long as I agree it's.
That's exactly, which would be transformative.
Change
but
everything.
And it's out of my own pocket.
Yeah, you could do it as long as you said you were gonna do it for community housing, but our code specifically makes sure that that is not possible, so
We
it's,
want to change that.
yeah.
So how do we change that? Because
We appeal to the town board.
The community housing board
appeal-
should probably recommend it to the.
Yeah, as an advisory body, we can recommend it to the town board.
How do we make a recommendation like that? Do we just come to your meeting and recommend it?
Yeah, it has to be put on the agenda, do a little dog and pony show.
Great. When's the next town board meeting?
We'll see you there.
Yes, work session, in a work session.
When's, so Tuesday?
Yeah, so
Oh, no, I can't do
pick
Tuesday.
a Tuesday time.
any April 15th.
Yeah, I was like, what is? Oh, perfect. The next Tuesday is April 18th, the tax deadline. Excellent. That seems perfect for me. What time is it? No, seriously.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock. Your 1 o'clock meetings on Tuesdays.
Do the-
How long are they usually?
Oh, they usually go until 3,
Yeah,
4.
yeah, depending on what's happening, what the agenda is.
If we were nice, do you think we could be put on the beginning of the agenda? Or do you have to do,
We don't have to do resolutions, so yeah, we can arrange the agenda however it needs to be arranged, yeah.
I am ready to, I will come on tax day. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
Like, I will literally move clients for this. Like, this is just makes me
It's so
so
important.
insane. I will, yeah. Okay, we'll figure it out.
You
Who
know,
wants
there
to party?
was a house, beautiful house in the near shore overlay. This was years ago. But they still had the near shore overlay in existence when that, they petitioned, got their guest cottage built. Absolutely beautiful. I'd say 900, 1,000 square feet. House was sold. They rented it out. House was sold and the new owners tore it down. I'd say-
Rather than have to conform.
No, they just didn't realize. They didn't realize. And I said, you just lost 500,000 on your price of your home.
Property, yeah.
They didn't realize how important that was.
Well,
It's not gonna happen again.
okay, cool. So I'm just gonna go back through just to go through stuff we have to do. And everybody stop me if I miss stuff. So we're gonna confirm, well, before we put it out there in the world, I'm gonna call Terry tomorrow morning and just make sure that the time works. But what we're thinking is we would do contractors at 1, public at 3.
Yeah, that's so we can
Okay.
get the seniors.
Right. So, but we gotta make sure the library's free, or I gotta find a different venue.
Yes,
So,
of course.
we're gonna do a poster, we'll do an ad in the Reporter, and we'll get Christina to put it on social media. We'll reach out to the senior center to let them know, and then once we have that, we can blast it to the families at the school.
Perfect.
Later on, we will reach out to the churches when we have more information. That seems like that's probably a more one-on-one discussion,
Okay.
although we could put it in the bulletins. Okay, so
I'm sorry to make her repeat what you just said. It's builders at 1 and people at 3, right?
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the idea. So I will call Terry. So I'm going to call Terry. Then once I know, I'm going to email all of us, but I'm probably just going to contact you, Bran, and be like, go, Bran, go.
Yep.
Make the thing. Cool. So then Okay, so then we're pretty good, and it's it's gonna be like Gwen's show. We're just gonna get people there and she's gonna like explain it. No pressure, Gwen. Number 2, we are gonna do final round of ADU pamphlet.
Yeah, everything.
We are gonna add Alexandra to it. We're gonna add any extra notes that we might have. Send it to legal.
This
And-
is all the language from Stephen
Directly.
directly, so I mean, I don't know how many times he has to look it
Like,
over, but.
every
it's
time.
I think he probably just wants to look through the whole thing.
I just
as-
found one tiny thing, or nonsense there.
So, but we'll just get, we'll get final legal review before the town prints it.
Okay,
Rad, okay, cool. So that's that. I will contact to be put on the agenda for
town work session,
town work session on
please change
tax
that
day.
law. Yes.
So everybody show up.
I cannot be there on Tuesdays until after April 25th, so.
Okay,
Just send an email out as a reminder.
will do. Oh my God, I think we're at old business.
Yeah. What is our own
I
business?
don't know. We have old business. What do we have? I'm just like looking through.
Just build some housing.
Build some housing. Build some housing. All right, new business.
Julie?
Anything, Julie?
New business,
Hey.
build some housing. Julie, do you have any questions or anything for us?
She's on mute.
I did have one thing on the old business. that we
Oh, yeah.
talked about. No, we talked about it last time, and this is not the right time to do it either, but just to remind, I guess, me, you talked about this, of discussing non-for-profit ways that we could potentially get people, sort of the similar to LTAC
Oh, yeah.
benefits, if we could create some sort of
There's already one created.
that provides tax benefits to investors or not.
And Amber, what is it called? I know Mary Faith and Patty.
Oh, that was
SciHop.
That was
Sci-Hop.
Sci-Hop. Yeah, Sci-Hop doesn't have the scale I think that you're thinking of. So to do a LIHTC credit, I did actually kind of like look into this a little bit. It would have to be something much bigger. So it would be potentially something like Gwen, right? With like CDCLI, like that's something that, and so maybe that's something we could kind of further explore if this feels like a good working relationship, or Long Island Housing Partnership. But basically for the LIHTC credits, we would have to partner. I looked into this because that was the first thing. Like, I think I stopped Amber at church one day and I was like, LIHTC credits, do you know about them? She's like, it's Sunday, leave me alone. But one of the first things is basically because we're such a small community, the only way the LIHTC credits would work is we would have to, any project that we did would have to be bundled with other projects.
So you
Do it
you
to
you master lease,
The scale.
you take 20 projects, you master lease it, and then do it that way.
Yeah, right. So basically, one of the things that we might, the way to consider it would be looking to maybe when we get to a point with the South Ferry site, if there was a non-for-profit builder who was building on the east end, and I don't know if it would even be appropriate, but that's ultimately how it would work, was they would need to bundle those projects together.
Right.
So that because the only way you would get the LIHTC was before, they're just doing massive development. So it would have to be like this and Southampton and this to like put them together to get the credits.
Right, but I mean, if you're a builder, it's phenomenal financing, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, right? So, but the issue that we have is because we're so
We don't have the
small,
scale, I get it.
we don't have the scale.
Never mind.
But it's not impossible, because one of the things, having talked to a couple of these non-for-profit builders at some of the housing conferences, you would have to, if they were doing projects around us, like on the forks, it is a possibility that if they could bundle them it could, there is a version of the world where it could work if the conditions were right and they already had projects going nearby.
So I guess the preliminary question is there something that we would have to think of? Should we try and find out a little bit more so that if we do 7 projects, we've done them in such a way that if we can find that person to bundle with, we haven't excluded ourselves and we have to wait for the next 7 to do it right? Is there something in that process that we can
Yeah, I mean,
pre-do so that we have it
yeah.
for when we're ready?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely, there's definitely developers that we could reach out to just kind of, that are would just kind of tell us more about the process. But it would mostly be, we wouldn't have a big enough package. It would probably be it would depend on what their other things were going on and they would package us in.
It also takes care of the manager, right? Because they end up being the manager of the property, which is gonna be an issue for us since
Well, and
nobody's gonna make any
here's the
money
thing, right? So
managing.
thinking about the South Ferry site, this was the first thing that actually Kate Casey from East Hampton, because I was just like, she's like, well, you just need to get it together, kind of get it through the process and then put it out to RFP. And I was like, well, I don't know if we're gonna have the funds together. And she's just like, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about that. And I was like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know how the math pencils out. And she's just like, well, I think that if you can get it to this stage where it was possible, where you had the community housing floating zone, you knew what the heck was going on with the sewer. She's like, if the wind was right for the developers and they had enough stuff, the right stuff going on, she's like, there's it might just work out for someone to do it in potentially like a bundling project like that.
Okay.
So,
Perfect.
so we got to get kind of, yeah, LIHTC would be rad.
Have we done all of our agendas?
Yeah.
Items?
Julie's unmuted.
With
Oh,
With
Julie.
regard to your Public Information Center, you might want to get in touch with Kim Nolan, who's president of the Shelter Island Association. They represent 10 neighborhood associations, so they could certainly get the word out to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Sure.
Excellent.
that's a great idea. Thank you. All right. Does anybody feel
Can I make a motion that we finish?
that's cool? Oh, neato. All in favor?
Hi.
All right. Thanks for the good times, you guys.